Okay. So with like talking about the law of attraction, okay. So first we have to realize that like sometimes like our mind is trying to help us. Our mind is trying to do its best to keep us safe. That's like what our mind was created for back in the saber-toothed tiger days. And it was always looking for things to keep us safe. And with that, we've kind of adapted, like now modern days, to just have, sometimes we have a lot of anxiety or we're constantly looking for things to go wrong, and kind of putting that negative energy out. So now, I do kind of believe, and again, these are all things that are like constant practices, and some of us have this like kind of worse than others, but I do think that like we kind of create our own suffering a little bit. Like when you start to focus on the negative things that are happening to you, that is what you will see. Like, has anybody felt like when I think like, oh, I'm just having such a shitty day or having such a shitty week, like you just focus more and more on the shitty things that you're seeing. So rather than, I know it's hard when you're having a shitty day or shitty week, sometimes we just need to like have that and get out of it. But rather than switching and just finding small things to be like, oh, that's actually not that shitty today. Oh, this is a good thing that happened to me. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody like have that where they like, I don't care like whether what religion you are, blah blah blah, like I know pretty much that everyone can relate to that in some sort of aspect. Yeah,
I know you can.
Jeffrey, this is not about me, this is about you. Okay, now okay, so what, like again, I don't, everyone kind of said that they don't have any experience really with the law of attraction, so I'll go ahead and like try to explain from the start, and then how you can implement steps to help you with this kind of stuff. So now with the law of attraction, and what that basically means is like you are trying to start by like manifesting things that you really want. So this doesn't always mean like you maybe like lost a boyfriend or girlfriend and then you're like, I really want to manifest that boyfriend or girlfriend back, so I'm going to then, you know, put in place these laws of attraction or these steps to do that. Certain things that you're going through might be taking place because of the journey to get where you actually want, so you have to keep that in mind. Now what you should start with as well is, before you're asking for certain things from the universe or God or whatever, you should focus on yourself, okay? Because if you're not harmonious with yourself, you're going to be reflecting the energy back to you that you're putting out there. Okay. So if you're not okay with yourself and these certain things, then you're not going to get where you want and what you actually need. All right. Now, if you don't know where to start with this law of attraction or manifesting things that you really want, you can start with some gratitude. So gratitude is really easy for starting with like kind of your changing your mindset. And so with your gratitude, I think one of the easiest things to do is kind of just like write, you know, down on a piece of paper 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for and why. Okay. So when you actually start to write those things down, then you'll see a shift. Like you'll immediately be like, wow, I really like am grateful for XYZ because XYZ. So I want to go around and keep this like, so I'm just not speaking the whole time. I want somebody to say what they're grateful for and why. Jeffrey, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my my training buddies that like provide me with a lot of hospitality and a lot of personal attention and a lot of compassion. So
that's good. And what do you feel like you're kind of getting from that? That's helpful.
A deep sense of friendship and just like genuine support, I think, more than anything else. Just like knowing that no matter what else is going on, it's like there are people that you can rely on and that they're helping like both the mind and the body at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And that's helping you deal with like your work-life balance and taking away some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ken?
I don't know.
Not grateful for anything.
I guess mom. Not saying because it's Mother's Day, but well, I didn't want that to be a cheesy thing, but just being like a best friend and allowing me to come to her when I'm struggling.
Okay. Mom? Chrissy?
I think I'm grateful for just my overall health and my I guess I can relate kind of to Jeff in that you're like a core group of people that you can lean on during this time, and they because you kind of think again, like if you want to take it into that, like the universe is attacking you on a personal level with all of these things to make your life more difficult and how you can't do those things that you really want to do, but you're really not. It's really not. It's happening to everyone. And having a key group of people is really important, especially, and like the key group could be your fitness friends, or it could be like I have one or two people at work. I have two girls in my master's class. So wherever it fits to have those, and like here, Kennedy and I will have some fun, interesting little times and we talk to each other and, like, so it's one of those things where I think having just being grateful for those relationships, even though they're not the same or traditionally like we used to have them, they're still, there for you. So.
Brandon?
I guess I'm grateful for probably Frank, because he's someone that I can kind of talk to whenever I need to. He's able to give me gym equipment, so I don't really have to deal with not having stuff that I want to have. Being in LA alone with the rest of my family on the East Coast, it's kind of you don't really have anybody, but having Frank, it's like having at least one friend that I can kind of talk to. So I guess I'm grateful.
Frank is a friend, everyone.
Yes, Frank is a friend.
I was like, you're showing so much gratitude for Frank. I almost feel like he's a lover.
I mean,
can nor confirm nor deny.
Exactly.
So I just want everyone to recognize that we all went through some gratitude things, and I felt like there's just a little bit of a shift to be like, okay, yeah, after all, in all these shitty things that are happening, there are my friends who I know even with my crazy work-life balance, I'm gonna go work out with them and train with them, or I have one friend even though I can't have my family, and there's things that are there. So I would really like if you guys, if this is something that you're interested in, that you start, that's a really great starting place to wake up. Or for me, sometimes it doesn't always happen when I wake up. I know some people really say oh, it does start your day right, and which it does. But you know, you can also do these things before you go to bed, because I still feel like they're pretty fresh in your mind when you go to bed and you get like a better sleep. So if you're having problems going to sleep because you have so much like anxiety from throughout the day, that you can take these things and, you know, write them down right before you go to sleep. And then it does really, as cheesy as it is, and like, again, I think that's like a line that I'm trying to walk, to not be that person who's just like, oh, meditate and gratitude and that will solve everything, because that's not how it works. It's like a constant practice. But there is something to be said about writing down these things and being like, you know what, my brain has been focusing so much on my work-life balance or on whatever it is, that after all, there are these certain things that I have to help me get through this. And I think that in whatever range that is, everyone has something. Yeah. Jeff, what's going on over there? You make a noise. I'm about to mute you. Okay. So now, the starting point with the law of attraction still, okay, continuing, is like some self-love stuff. So for me personally, I love to be alone. I love to have alone time. Okay. I think that literally everyone on this call is well aware of that. Now, the big thing that I have to like explain to people is that there's a difference between being alone and being lonely versus quality time with yourself. So I think that some people like don't really like, if I say like, oh, I need to be alone for the night or for whatever, the day, the week, like what I'm doing is like for myself, and it's not because I need to feel lonely or just be alone. It's because like I need quality time for myself. So with, you know, some people, I feel like, is there anyone who feels like they're kind of uncomfortable being alone, like they don't like to be alone?
Well, I like to be alone.
I know there's one person at least. Yeah, Brandon can relate to that. Anyone else?
That is not true.
That is true. Does anybody else have times where like they don't like to be alone because they're worried about like what's going on, or like they don't like to like sit with themselves? They like other things to distract them. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to, is being distracted by other things.
I think when my mind's really busy, when I can't get like, to me, like I can't cancel out the thoughts that I have with the anxiety and that, it's better to have a distraction in some way. Usually that's like having company of others versus like being left alone, like manifesting in my own head.
Mm-hmm. So I think like what when it comes to like quality time with ourselves, we have to learn a little bit like what that means. You might not know what that means, because right now you might be taking things and just being like, well, when I sit with myself, I don't like XYZ maybe about myself or what's going on or blah blah blah. So I think what we have to do is like we have to get a little uncomfortable to do like some quote unquote soul searching. So like when you know, I actually like created like a little PDF that I can send to everyone, because this is a lot of information. But when you do these things, it's best, like if I just told you to go have quality time to yourself, you would be like, what the fuck does that mean? Hey, I don't know what that means. So what I would like for you to do is a lot like, even if you're uncomfortable, I think it could work like being like, okay, you know what, I'm going to start with 5 minutes. I'm going to start with 5 minutes, or I'm going to start with 10 minutes, 20, and you can get better at this. But you need to do like, when you are so amped up about what's going on, like think about and sort out, write it down. I would personally suggest writing it down or journaling about it. And doesn't just mean when I say journal, just like gratitude journal. I would say journal and sort out the things like, what do I like? What do I dislike? What do I like that's happening to me? What do I dislike that I feel like is happening to me? Because again, with all these like laws of attraction and manifesting, you're really like manifesting and attracting a lot of energy that you already have and that you're already putting out there. So you need to really figure out what you like and what you dislike. And then whatever you dislike, you need to like do some work on that. Like, what can I do to change this? What can I do to get rid of this? Because if not, then basically, like, again, the like people or the universe are not usually doing things to like personally to you. It's just that like you're putting up with a lot of things, and the universe is like, well, they must be okay with it, because so I'm just going to keep dishing that out to them, because they're just that's what they're doing, that's what they're dealing with. And then I feel like some of us can be happy like or unhappy when we're on like an uncertain path or uncertain journey. So I think sitting down and writing out or really, really thinking about like, what do you want to do? What do you want to feel? What do you want to create? What are things like you want to give to people? What are the energies you want to give out? All those things are things that like are really hard to do when you're around other people. So that's kind of what I mean by like taking some quality time to yourself. And doesn't really mean that you're feeling lonely. You're focusing on the things that you like or you dislike, like that. So now, again, you can talk about like the things that you really like or dislike, but I think that there's a stigma around like doing some self-love or really loving yourself. Like maybe, you could be conceited, or there's a lot of people who aren't okay with themselves. And so like, you feel like, well, I shouldn't be okay with myself. There's so many things that are wrong with me, whether it's like, I have so much anxiety or so much history. I have so much, I have XYZ that I don't like. I really think that, to get in line with everything that we would like, we got to work on ourselves. So some self-love practices that are really, really hard to do at first, okay? One of them is to actually just like look at yourself in the mirror and say something positive about yourself, whether it's like, I love you, self, or, oh, self, you're really beautiful. Like say positive affirmations. And I know it's funny because like as soon as like if everyone like closes their eyes and thinks about how it would feel to do that in the mirror right now, your ego would like start screaming at you and be like, who am I to say like, oh, I love myself, there's so many flaws about myself. Like literally we're built to like where our ego is screaming at us when we try to like say like, oh, I'm okay with myself, I love myself. Like, does anybody relate to that? Or like if you close your eyes, I want everyone to close their eyes and think about saying I love you or you're beautiful to yourself. Everyone do it. Close your eyes and think about it. All right, Brandon, did you do it? Because I didn't see your eyes close. Jeffrey.
Yes.
I want to know like what are some feelings that came up for
what are some feelings?
Yeah. Did you have trouble like in your imaginary mirror telling yourself you love yourself?
No, not at all.
You do that already as a daily practice?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm serious. I really do. I think about it all the time because that's what, like you're saying, makes a big impact.
Yeah.
It helps get through things. It's a restabilizer, a equalizer, and just a bunch of emotions. So it's like a good reset button for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then when you're like first thing in the morning and you're looking at yourself, you're like, ooh, I love myself. Yes, self.
I don't know about all the dancing, but yeah.
And then you go out, and do you feel like you like attract that energy when you're like, I love myself, I'm slaying, I'm a queen, I'm doing everything?
Do I feel like it continues? Yeah, of course. It's an energy that carries on like other things. Yeah.
Perfect. Kennedy, how about you?
What was the question?
So when you closed your eyes and you thought about it, what are some feelings that came up? Were you like, nah, I can't say those things? Or were you like, I'm a queen, I'm slaying, I'm carrying good energy?
I think right now, because I'm dealing with something personal, it's kind of hard right now to focus on something like that to push aside. So I was able to say them, but was I able to believe them? No.
Okay. That's good. That's good. We're going to talk about that. Okay. And we're going to talk about like exactly what Kennedy said. We're like, we know that we're trying to like manifest these things. We know that we're trying to bring positive energy. So like we do all like the quote unquote work, but things aren't happening. We're going to talk about why that is and how to like fix that a little bit. Christy?
I think when I said the positive affirmations, I had a little peaceful minute, like a little bit of like peace in myself, you know, like I do like myself. I'm okay, you know, that because especially like many of us have talked about like our fitness relationships that that's a big struggle. And so when you kind of say whatever journey you're on, you take that, if it's like your fitness or your mental health or whatever, and you say, okay, I am okay. It gives you at least that little minute of peace, that little moment of peace, you know?
Yeah. And like, what I'm saying is I'm just giving you some examples, like some very general examples. Like you don't have to like look in the mirror and say like, oh, I love myself, because you might have a lot of like deep work that you need to do that might not work for you. And you might be like, this is just a waste of my time to say this. And like, you might not like look at yourself, and the thing that works for you might not be like, oh, I'm beautiful. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But you could be like, Kennedy, you could be like, damn, I have some thick ass hair that people would kill for. Damn, like, look at these eyelashes. Like, you can choose something. It doesn't have to be what I said, but you choose what you feel like is right and what will help bring the good energy and those good vibrations out. And then like carry on throughout your day. Brandon?
I think I relate to the one you just said, because like, not to sound like an asshole, but it's not like I don't really need to stand in front of the mirror and say that I'm beautiful, because like I know that, like, you know, so it's kind of like I need to.
Brandon, stop. You're so dumb. Brandon's a professional model, so that's why he's saying that.
So I guess it's a little bit,
that's subjective. You could feel like outwardly looking at you, yes, you're a handsome young man, but he may not feel that way about himself. Like you're saying that you do, but I'm saying it could be something that you maybe don't see about yourself. So
that's true. That's very true. And for a while, I guess it was like that, but I kind of got to a point where I like trust other people. And so like,
this is not what that's about. You need to trust yourself.
I don't trust myself, Keston. So, okay. But so I do kind of like, I guess looking in the mirror, it's kind of working on the deeper stuff, and it's like I am a good person, I am a nice person, and that kind of stuff is where I struggle.
Well, that could be something like what you're saying. Like you could be like outwardly, like I am attractive, I am handsome, but I know for a fact, I'm not trying to call you out, but don't you think that there's a lot of things that you're trying to work on as well, because you've told me?
Yes, Justin. Accurate, correct, yes, valid statement.
Perfect. So I know everyone is trying to work on something. So while you're doing these things, and you're trying to like, you know, put out those good vibrations, and all of it is kind of basically so you can become harmonious with yourself in whatever way. And it's a constant practice. Everyone's battling something. Everyone has something that they handle or struggle with. But the whole point of it is try to become as harmonious as possible, so that like when you're trying to manifest these things that you want or align your life in the way that you want, that you can do that. Because if not, again, you're just going to be reflecting the energy, or you're just going to have the energy reflected that you're putting out. So it's really hard to ask for certain energies and certain things when you are not ready to receive them as well. Okay? Because you might have some problems. Yeah, you might have some. I saw a lot of people being like, you might have some things that are blocking you from receiving these things that, you know, and again, this is all about like when you're in that negative space and that negative energy, the universe might actually be trying to hand you something, and you are like in your own way, basically. Yeah, I know. Kind of hard to swallow that pill, huh? Hard pill to swallow. Okay. Now, so attracting and manifesting the things that you want. So again, this is all kind of about what the lesson is, the law of attraction. Making sure that you're wanting to attract what is you're staying like, basically, I want you to like attract or want, like really take that time when you're in your maybe like your alone time or what you're thinking about, like making sure that you're tracking things that you actually want, like that actually you want, not what you think that other people want or other people need, or based off of other people's beliefs. So this could be like, a good example is like money. So we might have these things be like, I need a lot of money, I need a really good stable job, I want to attract that, I really feel like that's what you need. And then it's very possible that you get those things and you happen to manifest because you did the work, you got to where you need to be, and then you still feel very unfulfilled. And I feel like that's where a lot of people might get caught up, is because they do all the things that they think that they need, but really what they did was they just manifested things that they wanted, but based off of other people's beliefs and what other people needed. So you need to make sure that you're measuring like what you know that you need, and sorting out what's important to you. So does anybody feel like they've had times where they have tried to do things or like manifest or like track things based off of like other people's needs or beliefs or what they think that they should do? I know I have, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all have.
Jeffrey? You just do what you want all the time.
What? What am I not talking?
Did you listen to anything I said?
Yeah. I heard what you said. I'm deep in thought and contemplation.
Okay. So do you
feel like
feel as if like the things you've done, not to shooketh and shake up your whole life, but do you think that the path that you're on, or the things that you really want, are they things that you really want?
Yeah, pretty close to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pretty close to it. Yeah, 90% maybe.
What's the 10%?
Well, I mean, what specifics do you want to get into? I mean, basically, I really wish I could be more of a designer, because I, lived my whole life to be a designer, but I don't feel like I get to, flex that design muscle as much as I'd like to. That's pretty much the biggest thing.
So you wish you could be creative a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're doing anything to implement what you kind of would like to be doing?
Yeah, I am, but there's a ceiling to it. So
You're the maker of your own ceiling, Jeffrey. You reach for the highest branch you feel is possible.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, within the current large scale box that I'm in, there is a ceiling. But I'm not talking about like a immediate box, but just like a very large box. So yeah, I'm working within the constraints.
Mm-hmm. So again, like this is kind of like, if there's something that like you're wanting, then you do kind of like have to meet the universe a little bit halfway. Like if you want to do like more design or like whatever it might be, you want, like everyone I'm sure has something that they would like to be doing more of, or shift or whatever. But like, no, again, this kind of falls into that like, oh, if I'm doing this and I may not be taking the steps forward to like become a designer, I may not be like I'm just sitting kind of in this like comfort zone of things, then that's what you're going to keep getting. So that goes for like, that can maybe be applied to what everyone is kind of dealing with, not just Jeffrey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, if you want to start practicing the law of attraction or like manifesting things, I think there's like, if you want to make it really simple, but I'm going to make it not as simple. if you want to make it really simple, there's 3 different steps. So you have to ask, believe, and then receive. Okay. And then now I'm going to go into like 5 different steps I think are really important, because like, I feel like the ask, believe, and receive is a little bit general sometimes, and we're not kind of like taking into consideration everything that's happening here. So step 1 is just to ask. Okay, so you're putting your intentions out there, you're getting really clear on what it is that you would like from life, or whatever it is that you want. And like, I think some really good things to like help you do this is to like create, whether it's like creating a vision board, creating like, saying certain affirmations, journaling, write a goals list, write, like if you're trying, like if you're in a place where you're like, man, I would really like to buy a house right now, like write that house, like your dream house list, or like you're like, damn, I really need a new man's in my life. So like write that list, like write out that list, like get really specific, and like you have to be really clear. So like what qualities or does that like new house have? What qualities does that person that you would like to be in your life have? Because if like if you're not being specific, and you're then like you have no pathing, you don't have as good of judgment. So you really need to sit and like be like, I know I want somebody with XYZ, so that like when just a random person comes along, you're not like, well, let me try this person out, because you already realize that person doesn't have what you want. So you want to be really clear and forward with like your intentions. Now, step 2, and I've created a PDF that I will email to everyone, so you could really focus on these steps, okay? Because they're actually really important. So step 2 is to believe. So now with this step, this can be a really difficult step, because like I was talking about earlier, you have to remove any blocks that stand in your manifestation. So you might be like, damn, I really need a new man's in my life, but I don't feel like I'm worthy of love. How are you going to get a new man? Because every man that comes along, you're going to be like, no, I don't feel like I'm worthy. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. So you need to remove certain blocks, and we'll talk about kind of removing those blocks. And then like with removing those blocks, you have to learn how to like, this is where a lot of that really deep work is, and gets uncomfortable for people, because you have to like basically rewrite your story. So if you feel like you're not worthy of love, you might have to like do a lot of that deep work and practice, and be like, you know what, I felt like that before, but that's not true, because I know that I have some work to do, but I'm working on myself. This is what I really want, XYZ. So again, we'll get into more of that in a second. Now, step 3 is trusting. So you put it out there. You did your journaling, you did your manifesting, you did all that. You spoke it out into the universe. You are believing, you're doing the work, you're doing a lot of deep things to kind of remove those blocks, and now you have to trust. So trusting is different than believing, because now you are trusting that, whatever you believe in, whether it's the universe, God, blah, 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 you're like, okay, I put it out there. This is what I'm asking. Now I have to like believe in the process and like let it go a little bit. But this is also where it comes, like, say you want to win the lottery. This doesn't really mean that you're going to win the lottery. This is just one of the easiest examples. But like, if you put something into place, that doesn't mean that like the universe is just going to do it for you, or God's just going to do it for you. You have to like take some inspired action to get there. So you can't like, this is why I say it's like winning the lottery. You can't say, I want to win the lottery, but not go out and buy a lotto ticket. That makes sense? So this is like, if you want a new job, you have to apply for the job. You have to like meet the universe halfway, or meet God halfway, or whatever it is that you think or you believe in. So this is where you actually have to like start taking some steps to do the work. Yeah, I think the easiest way that we can all, you know, it all resonated to us because I got a lot of like head nods when I said, yeah, okay, I can't want to win the lotto, but not go out and buy a lotto ticket. Yeah. And I think this is where we get a little stuck. So there is a little bit of work to do. Now, step 4, and this is kind of where it goes into like some of the deeper steps, is letting go. So you might be like, well, why did I just manifest, believe, and then trust to just let it all go? Okay? Because now what happens is like you're basically just detaching yourself from the outcome. And again, you might be like, why am I detaching myself from the outcome? This is what I really want. Okay. Well, what's happening is when you don't like, you really kind of want to think about like your worst case scenario or like worst case possible, because you're just going, what happens, I think a lot of the time is that we just get too obsessed in it. So everyone has like, I know I do, this is probably where I struggle with the most, is like when I really want something to happen, I will like sit and obsess over it and I will do everything I can to make it happen. But again, like what happens is like if I feel a lack of momentum or a lack of like things happening, then that energy just gets reflected and then you get again like caught. What I'm saying is like you get caught in that like I don't feel like anything's happening, I don't feel like I'm moving forward, I don't feel like I'm finding somebody I really love or blah blah blah. So you have to like detach and let go and know that you put it out there and then like be okay with what happens, because not like if not, then you're just in your way again of just like blocking things. So does that make sense? Because I know that can be like one of the most confusing steps to things. Or does anyone have any questions on that part?
So how do you know when the work is done? Like you want to do these things, you've manifested it, you've talked about it, you've put it all out there, like getting a different job. You put in the applications, that's easy. Well, that's kind of easy. You put in the application and then you throw it out there and you just wait. But do you know what I'm saying? How do you know when the work is done?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question because for myself, I don't know how many people are like this, but like I myself am a very like long-term thinker. So like when I do something and I want something, I like I see like for me, I feel like I see starting point, middle point, end point. And I don't see like a lot of the journey in between that. I'm just attached to the outcome. And what happens is like that outcome that we think that we might be needing, like we might be like, I'm obsessed about this job working for this place or this school, but that might actually not be what you need. It's like, I just like the easiest thing to compare it to is like you were in a relationship and you're like, I want this person, but that person might not actually be what you needed and they were along for that journey. So I think the easiest thing to do is sometimes we have like I forget what it's called when you have like so many options you're paralyzed by it. It's like paralysis, like and then we get so caught up in the journey and like all these options that we don't do anything. So I think something that can be said is like every time that we have been like, you know what, I'm just going to take the smallest step forward. A lot of times what happens is when we take that really small step forward, something else usually unfolds after it. So it might be like, well, if I apply for the jobs, I didn't get a job, you know, what else am I going to do? Well, just keep taking those small steps forward. Keep, you know, because usually something will unfold. Usually you don't come to a screeching halt. And when you do come to a screeching halt, you'll usually be pivoted in another direction. So I think taking small steps and like and your journey is like constantly going. So like it might really suck to be like, you know what, I really want this job. And then it's very possible that you get to that job and you feel unfulfilled. But then that's kind of where the process like starts over. Well, why am I feeling unfulfilled? What do I feel like I need to feel? What would make me feel this way? And then it's like an ever evolving process. Or you might be totally content in your job that you have or you got. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have questions about that? No? We're good? We're all okay with letting go and detaching? Brandon, no?
What? Yes, of course.
No, you shook your head no. Why are you not okay?
I just have always, like, I'm not really good at that, so just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it's very, like, I think what happens is our ego gets in the way a little bit, and we're just so obsessed with, like, well, this is what I want. I can't let it go. And I'm going to obsess over it. Because why would I let go of the thing that I want? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not really letting go of the thing that you want. You're still putting in the work to do what you're wanting. What you're letting go of is the outcome, because the outcome might not, like you're still putting in the work. So again, you're not sitting on the couch, you're not doing nothing, and your journey is going to keep going, and you're going to kind of come back and do that like ever evolving like process of like processing emotions, processing things that you don't want and you do want, and like what's serving me, what's not serving me. And so that will eventually keep unfolding. So you just have to trust that like you're not going to block yourself from receiving what you want. Because doesn't that sound worse? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So now, step 5. Okay, step 5 is the easiest. That's the good news. So step 5 is receiving. So because you detach from the outcome, you let go, you're not in your way, you're not blocking yourself, you receive. So when you receive, you just like show gratitude, be happy, recognize that these things are happening. And I think you can receive along the way as well, and along your journey of getting to what you want, because you might have little wins along that. So that's the easiest step. It's really fun to like get what we want or what we need. Mm-hmm. Brandon, why are you raising your eyebrows?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Put those big old eyebrows down. Now, I feel like this is something that's relatable. Like, Jeff, you're going on mute here in a second. Motorcycles be passing by.
I muted myself.
I feel like, again, what this can be relatable, because sometimes this happens when you like might want something really badly, but things are really hard and seem so overwhelming. Like in this quarantine, things just feel so overwhelming. And things feel like they're not working. Like for me, I felt like I was like going to school, kind of like getting a different job. My life was transitioning really well. I was about to travel, about to do all these things. And then it came to a screeching halt. And so like, that's something that I'm having to deal with. And then I'm like, well, what I love to do is really hard to manifest right now and hard for me to be positive about. But what I can do is I can take little action steps to get to where I need to be when all this stuff kind of lifts and happens. That makes sense? So things might feel like they've come to a halt, but there's usually little things and reasons why, and things that you can reflect in, and like as to like what's happening and how you can work through them a little bit. Now something I want to like mention too is we all have different like manifestation styles. So what works for me might not work for you guys. Like we might journaling might work for me, might not work for Christy. Visualization isn't very helpful for me because I'll obsess about how I visualized it, and then I'm like, it must unfold like that, when it usually doesn't. So you got to find what works for you. Now, again, just sorting out like these certain things, what feels helpful, what feels like a chore, because if you're like, you know what, I really want this new man's, so I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. So I'm going to journal, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to say positive affirmations, I'm going to do the works, because the more I do, the faster it will happen. Okay, so I think we can get caught up in that, and like it's just recognizing that like the universe doesn't look at your day and be like, Keston did her journaling, she did her meditating, she did her visualization, she did her affirmations. So she gets 5 gold stars for the day. So she's just a step closer to getting what she wants. Like, it doesn't work like that. So you have to realize, like, choose something that works for you. And if you get like a really warm, like, happy feeling, positive, like you're feeling really positive, then that's probably what is your style of like what's going to work for you. And again, if you're feeling like it's a chore to journal or to meditate or to whatever, like, probably don't do that, because all you're doing is just like creating that energy. Yeah. Okay. Now, also realizing that like this kind of falls back into the letting some things go. You need to like make room for these manifestations. Like if you want a new job, you gotta like take that step into that, make some room. You have to like make yourself more available. So if I'm completely tied up in my day and I'm really busy, it's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to see it. So you need to just clear some space out, and give yourself some room for that to come through. So if you know there's things that you need to get rid of, go ahead and do that. Let's see. Now, the last thing that I really want to talk about, and then I'll like let you guys go or ask questions, is I feel like one of the biggest things that, you know, happens is that we're in our way of some of these manifestations. Like we want some things, but we don't feel like we're truly deserving of them. Does anybody feel that way? Yeah or no? Yeah. Kennedy? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess one of the big things like I can relate to this is like if you know that you want a certain type of like relationship, or you're trying to like find a new boyfriend or love or whatever, you might feel like you're not worthy of that, and you're like, well, I'm just not like, I don't know how to fix that yet. Something that you need to like recognize is that you might not be ready to let go, even though you know are eventually going to have to, but like listen to that feedback. Like if you realize like you're not ready to let this go, you're not ready to change these certain things, and that's just feedback that, you know, yourself is giving you. And there's things that could happen out of that too. You could eventually learn a lesson from that will help you get past that. So like try not to meet it with like, no, you have to do that deep work and it's going to unfold and you're eventually going to have to face that, but that you might just need to hang on to those things for a little bit, like, and let some of those things kind of happen and learn lessons from them, and then you will eventually, you'll get past it. And yeah, like I think some things that like we're all scared of the unknown, we're all scared of like what might happen if we let these things go. Those feelings are like some sort of protection or comfort, you know, blanket for us. Like if we could be like, well, I don't feel like I'm deserving of love, then like you could be like, well, that's just, realize that that's just like a protective mechanism for yourself, knowing that, you know, you're like saying that so you don't have to actually meet someone who, and then you could get your heart broken and be like, yeah, I knew it. I fucking knew it. So Brandon's laughing. Yeah. So let me see. What else? Okay. A good way to get past that though is just again weighing those options of being like, what's the worst thing that could happen? With that, like, you know, again, like say you're going on a first date and you're like, I don't want to go on this first date because I'm scared. What if they don't like me? Blah, blah, blah. But like, I think, you know, then thinking about the opposite, like, what if that person was like the love of your life and you just didn't take the chance? So what is the worst, you know? Like, so you're like, well, on one hand, realistically, I probably am just going to learn some lessons from it, learn what I like and don't like. On the other hand, I could have missed out on the love of my life. So, and that could go for anything, like anything that you guys are trying to manifest or to bring into your life. But yeah, so basically just figuring out what you want, not settling for anything less, and trusting in the process and doing the work. So that's about my lesson for the day. Does anybody have any feedback or questions about that? Or something they want to share? There's like a gnat and it's driving me crazy. Goddamn gnat.
No, I think it's good steps. I think you have to start figuring out your steps. I think with anything in your life, if you can have some type of tool, it always makes it better for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to realize that, like you said, you can do the work, you can do the steps, but if it's not the right time or the right moment, it's not like getting a scratch off and winning $2. It just might not happen. Like you just have to be, and you have to kind of go, okay, what happened through that journey that was my takeaway?
Mm-hmm. Kennedy?
Raise your hand.
I need to know what you learned from this lesson.
Oops. I think trying to figure out what helps me the most. Of course, like I've do journaling every once in a while, but it's not always something that helps me. So it's like trying to figure out what helps me the best, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like you gotta figure out, do some work and realizing like whether it's like, I don't know, there's so many different techniques, but figuring out what works best for you, and like not just because you think like, well, I just need to journal because I think I need to journal, when really it's just like you're like, I hate journaling, now I'm just in an even worse mood.
Yeah.
Jeffrey?
I think the way that you laid it out in all the steps was it was a good framework for understanding that this process. I think without even knowing it, I probably have been doing this for like 10 years, but I mean, I guess it's just putting it into really easy to follow steps. So I think it's a really good way of explaining. I think the lesson was really good. And it was, it's sort of those things are actually what helped me kind of, get to where I am today. So yeah, I think it was a really good lesson.
Brandon?
I thought it was a really good lesson. I think I kind of like know what I need to work on in terms of like accepting that I am like, I deserve, whatever I want or this or that, in terms of like, I am ready to accept things and I still need to work on that. So I guess maybe I'm not ready to accept things. I don't know. But it's just like a process that I'm continuing, and, maybe one day I will achieve mindfulness.
Greatness. It's an ever going process, Brandon.
Yes, Keston. Yes, it is. You're correct.
What step do you think you get stuck on the most?
Maybe like of the three you gave, I think the believing step, like that part is kind of
I
like
gave 5 steps.
Well, you initially said it was 3. You said it was something believing and trusting, and then you went on to another one that was
ask, believe, and receive, Brandon.
There was a simplified version.
Yeah, so I was going with the simplified version, Keston.
Ask, believe, and receive.
Yes, I am bad at the believing and receiving portion of that. I can ask for a lot. But yeah, so I guess it's just kind of like continued work on that and hoping that I can kind of figure it out one day.
Yeah. Christy, which step do you feel like you get stuck in the most?
Because this is a really new process for me. So, just like really started to deep dive into this as of a couple of weeks ago. So I really think that, and I guess because I'm not a pessimist, I'm kind of an optimist. I don't think I get stuck on any step because I do like to always try to think of the positive outcomes. But I think maybe personally just removing blocks, maybe the believing, only because, like if I want to get a different job, I have to do that. I can't just say, well, I have to.
I'm going to sit here.
You know what I'm saying? Take the steps to get a different job, or have to do those steps. So I don't know, not believing in myself, but just believing in the trusting the process, maybe. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we
Ken?
don't.
Ken, which steps is the hardest for you?
I forgot them.
Ask, believe, and receive.
To be honest, I think all of them.
You have a hard time asking for what you want? What you want?
Well, no, I think it's the believing.
Because me, I'll be like, ooh, I want this, I want this, I want this, but which one do I want to work for?
We know.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of hard. It's like when you, for me, like having a foggy head all the time, not being able to clarify thoughts, you get stuck in, for me, I get stuck with the whole starting point. Like I don't ever know where to start.
Yeah.
So if I don't know where to start, then I don't know what to ask for, then I don't believe, then I'm like, okay, will I receive if I can't find a starting point in everything?
I feel like that's actually something that's really, really important to acknowledge, because I feel like that happens to a lot of us, where we know what we're starting to realize like we need some sort of change, or we're starting to realize that we want something different, but we're not really sure what we want. And I think what can be like, I feel like I'm kind of in that place, like my for myself, like I kind of know like I want to like be doing a few different things, but I'm not really sure the exact direction I want to go. But I think it's helpful to sit and take that time and think like, well, what are the, because we all know what we dislike. So it's like, what do I not want? So writing out like, or, you know, I'm really a big like fan of like, you actually like if you journal your style, journal whatever way you need to. If that's like blotting statements on paper and not having to make sense, if that's making fucking poems, if that's like, I don't know, like it doesn't mean that you're just gratitude journaling and like saying things that you're thankful for. Sometimes that might be like, I need to get my brain thoughts out of my head onto a piece of paper so I can realize that, okay, because I'm thinking of these things a million times over and over, it feels like I'm thinking of a million different things rather than, wow, it's just really, I have about 5 things that have been bothering me. And now I can see it on paper. Now I can see what I dislike. Now I can see what I like. Because sometimes, yeah, like that's where some of that deep work comes in, where we need to like sit and sort and be like, what do I dislike? What do I like? Well, I know I like this, so I'm going to take one tiny little step forward. Well, I really like that. So like, I think maybe sometimes we start with like a broader ask, and then we kind of narrow it down as we go. Yeah. Jeffrey, are you just an expert?
No, what do you mean, am I an expert? I agree with what you're saying.
What is the hardest step for you?
The hardest step? I think I just love what I'm doing. I love everything. So I just don't think there's a...
He's going to need to go to a different service, sir.
I don't know. I mean, I think I find it hard to sort of realize a bigger aspiration when like I feel pretty fulfilled and content with like I was saying earlier, like the majority of what I'm doing, I feel pretty content, and I, you know, reaffirm that with myself all the time and make sure that like this is like really what I enjoy. And
Laughing at Aliko in the back.
Oh, I can't see him. But I guess, yeah, I think I have a hard time like getting back to some of, because I mean, if you want to get into it, like probably back in college, like I had some like, I mean, if you know me, I have like very large worldly goals, like that are just like moonshots. So I think I've been suppressing those just because of how happy or surprised about how happy I have been with like my current journey and like where I've arrived at. So I guess getting back to kind of those original big, extremely out there ideas that I really wanted to like tackle, but getting away from that because like I have to, you know, sort of create space, as you were saying, in the current situation that I have. So
if I know you well, which I do, I would say that I've been very good about shaking up your normal routine and you've had to get out of your comfort zone, which you dislike. You don't like a change in your routine. And you have like your foundational things that you like to go through and believe in.
yeah, they're pretty strong.
Yeah. So I think one of your biggest challenges might be
Yeah,
that you
I mean,
get
I think
content
get content. Yeah.
and you're like, well, I'm kind of happy in this, but wouldn't you be happier the other things?
I mean, it's all relative, right? I mean, it just depends on like, there's nothing wrong with being happy. Like happiness is an
Yeah,
energy level, right?
your
So
value, whatever you're wanting.
so if you're already happy, isn't that the measurement that you should be like evaluating? So
Should we ask the class?
sure.
Well, I think you're okay, Jeffrey. I think that if you're happy in this moment, that's fine. But maybe one of your goals or maybe one of your things could be to do something that's out of your comfort zone, like getting more comfortable with doing things out of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be this big ginormous goal of, you know, becoming whatever, but it could be those small little baby steps. Or, you know, maybe you've always wanted a dog, but you've never taken the leap to get a dog. So you decide to go to a pet adoption place and you decide to take a dog for the weekend. Or you do those things that are just not in your comfort zone, but they bring you small happinesses. Or maybe they don't. Maybe you take the dog home and you're like, oh, hell to the no, I'm not doing this again. But now you realize that this goal of always having a best friend and a dog is not gonna be for you. Does that make sense? Like just this
Completely. I think what you're getting at is that like I think I've established like a baseline acceptance or contentness, and then there's just like a lot. I mean, I have been over the last couple of years like experiencing sort of moments outside my comfort zone that like provide like a lot of elation and like a lot of happiness that I never could have even imagined. I couldn't have even gotten there. So I think part of like what you're saying is like the sort of receiving part, the openness, the like just being receptive to like that there is a possibility that
To get to those
things
higher
could change.
vibrations, Jeffrey.
Get to the what? The vibrations?
Higher vibrations.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be a life change. It doesn't have to be about changing your entire life or your career path. That might be the journey that someone else is on, but it might not be yours.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're all different. I think there's probably different scales of what your lesson is about. That it certainly, I like what you said. Like maybe I'm at the wrong service. I don't think I am. I think honestly, I think that there is equal benefit for everyone in their unique situation.
Mom, so what I'm hearing is I can go out and get a dog. My heart so desires.
Maybe you should manifest the fact that you need to get your own place. Then you can start on the journey of getting a dog. Your spiritual journey includes getting out your mama house.
Yeah, the fact that we're sitting here on the same Zoom call and we're in the same house but in two different rooms, right across from each other.
I know.
Like y'all can probably actually hear each other speaking.
No, I have my door shut.
No, I have my door closed.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for being part of my mindfulness class. This class takes part every other week, so I will keep you posted. on the next one.
Okay, Mercy said to tell you she forgot. I mean, she didn't forget. She's sorry she couldn't be here, but she had Bree and her kiddos were there for Mother's Day.
Okay.
But she was really sad she missed it because
I
she
would
wants to do
like
the next
some
one.
feedback of, like, you can text me, all of you guys text me on a regular basis anyway. So I would like for you to text me some feedback or what you liked, what you disliked, and what you would like to talk about or learn more about.
Will you
Right
actually
now, I feel like
answer?
this is only my second class, and then I'm just kind of guessing what people would want to talk about. So it would be helpful to actually talk about things that people want to talk about or what you want to learn more of, and not just what I think you need to talk about.
Okay.
Okay.
I think breaking down the steps would be nice, but that's just me. But
Breaking down steps more.
like focusing on a different step or technique or something.
Okay.
I'll message.
Did you raise your hand?
Yes.
What would you?
Will you answer?
Yeah.
See, everyone's laughing. Everyone is laughing.
Because last time I texted you, you didn't text me back. I don't even think you texted me back. That was like 2 weeks ago.
I'm just really happy everyone who I mostly talk to is in this conversation so they can all feel not as personally victimized.
Yeah, I don't take it offensively anymore. I'm okay.
See? Brandon, doesn't that make you feel better?
Still working on it. Okay.
Jeffrey, does that make you feel any better?
No.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking forward to everyone's feedback. I will send you guys a little PDF. And I'm looking forward to your text and responding to them.
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah. Namaste. All right. Goodbye.